Good morning, friends. Pastor Jesse here at Highview Church, and if you're watching this video, you're familiar with where I am in Highview Church, Classroom 5, one of our Highview Kids room. You're familiar with this room because you're one of our Highview Kids teachers, and so I want to start this video by just thanking you for your participation in the work and ministry of Highview Church and our mission of helping people find and follow Jesus, and especially our core value that we talked about in our First Things First series, our commitment as a church and as the people of God to raise up the next generation of people of God, right? The next generation, of followers of Jesus. That happens through the nursery, that happens through the mother's room, that happens here in Highview Kids, right? A place where from the earliest of ages, our children can be raised with foundations of faith, foundations that lead to faith of their own in the good news in the person of Jesus Christ. So thank you for your work. This is a passion of my heart as a pastor and just as a person, a follower of Jesus Christ, right? That we would be a people, as God's word calls us to be, which is passionate about raising the next generation to know that their worth, their value, their purpose, ultimately their salvation from sins, comes from Jesus and Jesus alone. So thank you for your work in that. Thank you for your participation in that. And a part of that heart that I have, a part of that core value that we share as Highview Church, and a way we're going to execute that, is we're going to be switching to a gospel project, the gospel project curriculum. And I've mentioned it in the sermon when we talked about Psalm 78 and the commitment to the next generation. A few of the things I love, and the reason for this switch about the gospel project, is the gospel project takes our students through the whole of the Bible every 3 years. So on a 3-year cycle, our students will go from Genesis 1 to Revelation 22 every 3 years. So if students are with us throughout all of their adolescence, they will go through the Bible all of their lives, right? I love that about the Gospel Project, multiple times in their lives and in their adolescence, I should say. That's one thing I love about the Gospel Project. The second thing I love about the Gospel Project is it not only tells our students, our children, the stories of the Bible, right? It not only tells our students the story of Jesus and God, which is important, but it tells us how the story of God is really one story, right? How everything, whether it's in Genesis, whether it's in Hosea, whether is in the book of Jude, right? How everything points, as John 1 says, to the living word that is Jesus Christ, right? How every story in the Bible is a part of the one grand story of salvation in Jesus Christ, right? Every week, let me just open one up. Obviously, we'll start with quarter one. These books and the Gospel Project curriculum comes in quartered sections. So Genesis 11 through 13, the call of Abraham. It has a key passage. It has a big question for the passage, right? How does we know God keeps his promises? It has a way that this Bible story connects, the Christ connection, the way that Christ connects, and then a big picture story point, right? Kind of like the big idea that we do in Sunday sermon is that Abraham obeyed God's call, and so we should obey God's calling in our lives. So it's not only telling the stories by way of information, but it's relaying the stories of God for transformation, and see that it all leads to that resurrection of Jesus Christ. Right? All roads in the God Bible truly lead to Christ. And so that's what I love about the Gospel Project. That's the heart behind why we're so committed to Highview Kids here at Highview. That's the heart behind this switch to the Gospel Project curriculum within Highview Kids. Now I want to talk about the particulars, right? And I don't think it's anything that is too out of the ordinary as we begin here. Each teacher, I know we have teachers of pair, so each one that handles the bulk of the teaching load will be given this leader guide. And as I mentioned, each leader guide covers a quarter's worth of curriculum. So we'll go through a quarter every 3 months. We'll start with creation and covenant, Genesis, and walk our way through. So this is what a lesson will look like. Each book is broken down into, I believe it's 3 units, and each session is 1 week. So you'll obviously be covering each week 1 session. So it has the leader Bible study to prepare your own heart for the teaching of students, and that's something I should be doing as a pastor as I teach, and that's something we should all be doing. You see it kind of broken down into time increments. The Gospel Project is to be designed and has enough content to be used in classes of like an hour and 15 length. So in our current format, it'll be more a problem of what do we do? How do we weed this down to fit into our 35 to 45 minute window with the students? So we'll have more content than we need rather than less, I would say. And it's laid out then the whole lesson, including supplies. If you want to work through the activities, is laid out for you. Gather supplies. Lays out pretty much, you could just literally say what the book says, right? It lays it out in that much depth. Or you can obviously ad lib as you work through the story, introducing the lesson, the big question, the actual Bible story itself. All that is laid out in the leader guide. I think that'll be pretty self-explanatory for you. But if you have any questions, ask April Martin or myself. So that's the leader guide. And then for each student, we will have activity guides, which we'll want to keep here at the class and not let the students take them home because we don't know that they will end up and be back for next week. So activity guides have the activities that connect with each week's lesson. So we've gone with the younger kids activity pages. There's a younger and older kids activity pages. Since we're very spread out in our ages, we've chose the younger kids activity pages just so everyone will be able to participate in the activity pages. We want everyone to be able to have an activity book. That's what we should do because of copyrights and licensing things. We want to be respectful and good stewards of Gospel Project and their curriculum. If there's a week where we have the very good problem of having more students than we have books, we are going to have a copier. We already do have a copier on this end of the building, so you can quickly make copies of that week's activity pages, but then let April Martin know that we need more books and she'll order more books. So I think pretty self-explanatory. Leader guide for the teachers, activity books for each students will be made available each quarter as we walk through the Gospel Project and its 3-year cycle. The thing that's a little bit new is there are also video attributes and aspects of this lesson, including video Bible studies, which we would like to use. So there will be a kids DVD that, again, will stay in this room. We have one of those, so it must stay in the room. You could obviously preview it throughout the week if you'd like to come in here, but we have the kids DVD. You've probably noticed that with Vision, we've installed these smart TVs and DVD players in Classroom 5 and Classroom 3. I want to walk through, just in case technology is something that scares you, I want to walk through it very piece by piece, as in depth and as detailed as I can. So these are Hisense Roku TVs. They're, in my opinion, the most simple operating form of smart TV to use. So there's nothing to be fearful of. Let me adjust the camera here. I'll walk through it. If you've used a DVD player before, you will be able to understand how to operate this. So Roku Smart TV, there's 2 remotes, one for the DVD player and the TV. That's the TV remote. Power button is at the top. You want to turn that on. I'm going to go ahead and use the DVD remote. Green button to power that on a while because that takes a second to start up. For the TV, you'll scroll over to the icon that is labeled DVD player. Click on that. And you see the DVD player has started up. You'll open the DVD player with the open close button. Obviously take said DVD out of the packet, place it into the DVD player, have it closed. Take a minute till it goes through its startup menu. Make sure you don't copyright this and use it within the permissions of the publisher. So we don't face violation or civil or criminal penalties, is what that says. And it'll take us to the main menu. Gospel Project is made by Lifeway Resources. Using the remote, you'll see the arrow buttons there in the center. That's the direction arrow, and in the middle is the selection. So as I said, each unit of Gospel Project is broken, or each quarter of Gospel Project Ministry is broken down into units. For the Volume 1 unit, it has 3 units. We'll go in there. This is the main menu, so we want to click into Unit 1 since we're starting. Then it has 5 sessions within Unit 1. God created the world, sin enters the world, the first family of God, the great flood, and the Tower of Babel. So we'll just click into Session 1. That has all of the resources. This is the resources just for Session 1. So there's a countdown clock. We probably won't use that within our current format, but below that is the Bible story, which we will most definitely use. That has a kid level Bible story telling on that. Questions from kids, I think, is very cool. It has questions that kids actually raised after participating in this lesson, asked of a scholar, which is pretty cool. So we could use that, and I think the kids would really enjoy that. Every lesson comes with a missions moment, so a practical way for kids to understand how this lesson could apply to their lives, right? Planting seeds for our kids to be on mission with God throughout their lives. And then there are also songs that come with each lesson. So if you're brave and want to have songs with the students, go ahead and use that and make use to that. There's lyrics videos and there's also motion videos. One last thing, so that's, I think, pretty self-explanatory. We go into the unit, you go into the session that you're teaching, and then it has all these resources for the unit for your session. I want to go back to the main unit menu here. Okay, I wanted to go back to the main menu, actually, and show you one other cool resource that is available, and I pray that the Lord has opportunity for you to use. But if you ever have a student that is feeling prompted by God to actually make a decision of faith, actually make a dedication of their life to Christ and receive the gospel in Jesus Christ in faith, the Gospel Project equips you to do that. It has this Gospel Project video, which has a gentleman go through, and in a way that kids will understand. Here, I won't actually play it all, but we'll explain the good news. We'll lead children to understand the good news of Jesus Christ so that they can receive it in faith. So there's lots of great resources with the Gospel Project, and as its name implies, it is all about leading children into a gospel relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's what we're about as Highview Church. And so I look forward to that and seeing the fruit that will come from that as we commit to putting hand to plow and raising our kids to find and follow Jesus. If you have any questions, you can ask myself, or April Martin is coordinating schedules and kind of the point person, the coordinator for our kids ministry. So please reach out to her. You can reach out to the church office email, churchoffice@hvcog.org. We'll try to answer those questions for you, but I will be praying for you. I appreciate what you do here at Highview Kids. It does not go unnoticed by me as your pastor, Julia, as well. We're both very passionate about the kids ministry and raising up that next generation, and we appreciate you for participating in it with us.